Ready? And
We all
go!
did.
Hi, everybody. Hello. It's officially CosTalk Live time. It's Sunday at noon in Arizona. And today we're talking about photography tips. On our last stream, we had a viewer suggest us going through photography tips such as posing, studio versus location, selfies, safe photographers in our region. So we're going to go through quite a few different things today. And at one point, I will be running away, and these fine folks will be talking, and then I'll come right back. But
when Sam bolts, just ignore it. That's expected.
I actually have to bolt right now.
It's not an emergency.
Yeah, none of us will be concerned for good reason.
No. Okay, you guys introduce while I assault my cat.
Ask me, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Hi, everyone. You can see I have a little bit of a name change down here. I'm kind of trying to get my social media towards my new name, Tiny Rain Cloud, but you can always call me Keychan Cosplay. I'm from the Pacific Northwest, so I'll be kind of filling you in on Seattle area, some of the photographers up here, and some of my favorite spaces to take photos in. I actually just did my first photo shoot since post-pandemic. I actually left the house and did something in cosplay for the first time a week ago, and it was an amazing experience. It was so fun. I got to do my Arabian Haru, which has been done since February when pandemic began. So I'm so excited that I finally got some shots done. They're still being edited. I have a couple pictures to share, but it was such a fun project, and it made me just really fall back in love with photography and remind myself that that's what I love to do when it comes to cosplay. So. Take it away, Amber.
Hello, I'm Amber Bright. I'm a professional prop maker and cosplayer here in the Phoenix area, and I have been for we figured out 8 years last time, so that's pretty good, I guess. And I don't do much in the way of photography because I have a handy, dandy, super amazing mission control photography.
Hi, I'm Mission Control Photography. I do pretty much all of Amber's photography, but I also do a lot of work with a bunch of different cosplayers here in Arizona. I've worked with Thermo Cosplay a bunch and pretty much everyone at CTL for the past year now, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then just a bunch of my other friends here in Arizona.
Yay! And because I ran away from my intro to get my cat away from the resin that I had. I'm Sam from Thermo Cosplay, and I've been cosplaying since 2014, and I've actually done a fair amount of photography. I've had people take photos of me. I've taken photos of people, so we will be able to cover all of our bases today. So let's go ahead and if you have a specific area you want us to cover, let us know. But we're going to go ahead and start with the ugly first. We're going to start with what we think is an ugly looking photo, just based off of things that happen, like poor lighting. So Mission Control Photography was kind enough to send me an example photo of, hey, look, this is a great pose, but the lighting in this hallway was terrible. So this awesome, cute, adorable photo just fell super flat. Very good. Hey, bad.
Wow, that's cool.
Bad. So yeah, I mean, let's stop with the evil. Why are you doing this to me? Why?
I think this is a great thing, especially if you are a cosplayer that has never gone to conventions before because you just got involved during the pandemic. Con photos are a beast of a different nature. So we can talk about con photos, and then we can talk about studios, and
we can talk about selfie. We can talk about selfies at cons and selfies and photographer at cons, and then we can talk about selfie in studio and photographer in studio. So there's separation here too.
Yeah,
I feel like this is going to be a long episode, and we might have to do a part 2.
I mean,
already we've done so many photography things, but people have so many questions.
It's endless.
It's a topic you'll never stop learning on. It really is.
I agree. So Amber, look, it's you.
Yeah. And shout out to Jenna on the right and Jess on the left. This was actually, I think, at Comic and Media Expo.
Yep, 2014.
The last
Okay.
one that ran, which was sad because it was actually kind of a fun con.
But
Yeah. So the reason I picked this photo is because all three of these lovely ladies here are fantastic cosplayers, and they all have modeling experience. They all know how to pose. They nailed this pose perfectly. Like, everything about this photo is great, except for the lighting, which was something that at the time, because this was 7-8 years ago, I didn't know to pay attention to lighting very much, and didn't realize that there was a light in the hallway, in the ceiling, like you'd find in any commercial building, and it was just behind them. So it cast a little bit of light on their cheeks, and that was about it. One of the big things that I've learned since then is if you're going to be taking photos in a convention, you really want to pay attention to where the lights on the ceiling are, because you don't want them behind you and you don't want them directly above you. You want to kind of stand where they're a little bit in front of you so that it casts the light all the way on your face and all the way on your costume, and is a lot more flattering than what we have here.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at the light on my face, especially. You can tell that it was like just above and just a little bit behind, because you get my cheek and my nose. The rest of my face is in shadow, and then like the tiniest of boob highlights. And if we had taken like 1 or 2 steps backwards, or even several steps forwards, because there's windows right in front of us, if we had gone towards that natural light, that would have been better.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I'm in my aging of cosplay, I've become very picky. I don't do a lot of convention stuff anymore. Like, I love working cons, I love doing panels, but when it comes to photo shoots, I have like 2 photographers that I trust enough to work with at a convention to give me that quality of photos, versus, because like, I mean, it's fun, you can take some pictures at con and have fun with it, but like, this one was actually taken at a convention, but it was also taken at like 7 o'clock in the morning when there was nobody there in a private area with lots of morning light, because it was early fall. And so like, I love the lighting. I love the composition of this picture. I'm just really lucky because there was no one there. And it really takes a good photographer to, one, know the location that you're going to set this kind of thing up. Because we knew we wanted that early morning light. So both of us are like, screw it. We're going to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. We're going to be there by 7. We're going to get all the light. We're going to try to avoid the crowd. It had this big, beautiful marble bench that I got to take a bunch of really great pictures in. And that was it. That's all the space we needed, was this little corner. And then like, if you scroll through, I have one where it's kind of like a scenic with this like brown panel background with ramen shoe. That was also a convention picture. Like, we were in the middle of the convention hall. There was people all around us, and we took a second just to take a breather. And like, I was like, hey, I have this idea for a picture. And we took this, and there was just this big wall of light kind of hitting us. And I wanted that kind of dark, shadowy look, kind of the sad breaking apart feeling. And so I thought it was great for this. So sometimes you can get lucky at cons, but a lot of the time I haven't been this lucky. Like, that is literally just set up the right timing at the right place with the right kind of light.
Yeah. Well, it's like,
I agree.
Like
I haven't done any photo shoots at a convention since 2017 at this point. It just reached a point where it wasn't worth it to try.
Mm-hmm.
Too many crowds, too awkward an angle. You can usually tell when it's a convention shot, even if you find a really, really good area to shoot in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a convention shot with great light, but you can tell like with the way it's closed in there were like literally 50 people on the other side of that camera.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Mission Control and I joke that we know all of the photography spots of all the major convention centers on the West Coast. So you can show me a picture that got taken at Emerald City. I'm like, I know exactly where that was. Or a picture taken at Phoenix Comic-Con. And I'm like, yep, know exactly where that was. So
I've shot in that corner before.
yeah. Oh, here's my photos from that location. So like, you can definitely like, if the place that you get your photos is at a convention, like, as long as you go with a good photographer, you're going to get beautiful shots. But they are still, at the end of the day, con shots, and most of us who are looking at them are going to be like, I know where that was. So
yeah, and just the idea of like, know your location, know your photographer. If you're going to a place you don't know, then you want to make sure you have a photographer that knows the area. Because one of the things, like I've shot at SoccerCon for years, doing a bunch of photos with a bunch of different photo shoots. And it was actually last year I did my best. I couldn't believe it was taken at a photo shoot, like at a convention during like the peak of the day. Because like if you are going to do photos at a con, you want to really try to remember like your timing. Like I said, that Nagisa one was taken super early in the morning. Nobody was there. We had the whole place to ourselves essentially. And then like, I have my ROM photos, which we'll show later, which are just like with this gel lighting in this garden. And there was hundreds of people around us. Like, I don't know how she got that shot to look so good and just get everyone out of it. But just really think about your timing, think about your location, think about the person you're shooting with. And if they have a good idea, let your photographer just drag you off. I mean, like only if you trust them. But like we were dragged through this crazy garden at SoccerCon and like down into this like the bottom of the park area, and we were kind of off on this little corner. And I was like, I didn't even know this existed, and I've been coming here for years. Yeah. So definitely like location.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like this was just outside of the masquerade hall. We had taken like we just finished our performance, I believe, or we were getting ready. No, we just finished it. No. Yeah, it was before. Never mind. We were going to the green room, and this magazine stopped us, and we were like, oh my God, just everyone jump in. As you can see, like you barely see a couple people back here, and we were just real fast, like, ah! And the next one was we had enough time to get all settled so you could see everybody, but it was still one of those, like, we still have to make this happen fast because this is a hallway that people walk through.
Yeah. And with especially with con photos and stuff like that. And if you are a cosplayer going to a convention, just have a stock stance or pose that you've got in your back pocket, because you will have those, a lot of people, just casual people taking photos. And it's good to be able to just throw yourself into the pose and then go, just so that you're minimizing how much time that you're taking up that area. And for the love of God, don't stop in the middle of an aisle. Like,
I was gonna say, pro tip.
Oh my God, nothing drives me crazier than when I'm walking. And I've done it. Like I did it a lot in my Twi'lek. I'd just stop wherever I was, and then I'd be stuck there for 5 to 10 minutes with like people taking photos, blocking up.
There's one exception. There's one exception to that rule, and that would be LA Comic-Con or Emerald City. There are these two areas in LA Comic-Con. So LA Comic-Con, the entrance is like the photo entrance, and the pillars are where everyone gathers around. Mm-hmm. And then at Emerald City Comic-Con, on the 3rd floor, I believe, there's this back area where you just know it's near like the eating area. There's just going to be a bunch of cosplayers, and it's literally the cafeteria, but everyone's there because the lighting is perfect.
But like if you're in a dealer's hall, it's just common courtesy to not shoot anybody's table. Like try really hard to step off to the side, move to a wall if possible. Like that's my.
Unless it's your own table. If you're a guest and it's your table, you go for it.
But I mean, I've essentially taken pictures in front of tables before,
But yeah, it's just kind of like common courtesy of just like, if possible, if you have an opportunity to just step aside, or like if the person asks you like, hey, can I take your picture? Just be like, okay, sure. But let's move over here. And instead of taking a picture with like across the way, like do it where it's down the aisle. So you're taking up minimal space.
So link the photo. So looking at this photo, now link the photo I just linked you in Instagram.
Yeah, I'm going to go to it right now.
Because if we're going to talk about knowing convention centers.
I just saw the caption. Yes. Yep.
Guaranteed anyone in that convention center could be like, oh, I know right where that is. Like,
yeah, no, that's like was that an Emerald City Comic-Con picture?
Yeah.
Dang, that's really pretty. It's usually not so green, right? Like that's when it starts getting green. That was a good year.
This was inside at the glass walls, so I think all those plants are fake.
Oh, I mean, it could have been.
It was right next to the smoothie shop.
Yeah, but no, I mean that's the photography place, though. Everyone like both of those floors, like best place to take photos.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too. So we're covering a lot of right now. We're talking a lot of like if you have a photographer with you and they're taking the photos for you. But sometimes you have to set it up to where you are the individual taking the photos, and so you have to get creative with like, how do I take this photo with this many people? Like, how do I get a good selfie or how do I get a good image? And that's a big thing right now too, is a lot of people are trying to do self-photography, and I'm all for it because I know how difficult it is. But I also understand that self-photography means you have to get creative with your angles, and you have to get creative with how you're going to prop up. So I always recommend bringing, like, I know people hate selfie sticks. I use selfie sticks not for selfies. Yeah. I actually use it for the tripod because it has a really stable tripod. And so I can put it even on rocks and it just chills there and hangs out for me. And that's the best thing to do, is just set it on, like, find in Emerald City, there are these great planters outside, so you can set it on the planters and get nice angles. And then if you go to like somewhere in Phoenix, you're just going to want to look for benches or planter boxes or places that aren't going to interfere with the flow of traffic for other individuals to set it. And you're going to want to use timers, hand or voice controls, and just get used to your angles, because everyone has different angles. I'm really tall. I don't want to shoot from super low unless I'm trying to look immense. Typically, I have to find something that's up a little bit higher so that I just don't look so much bigger than everyone else I'm photographing with. I'm usually like 4 inches taller than most people I'm photographing with. So to trick the eye, I get different angles to make myself look around the same height. So selfie sticks are small tripods, something that you'd use for like a webcam with a phone attachment. Make sure you invest in one of those if you're going to do self-photography at events.
And I'm going to quickly shoot off to our comments because, like, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I love you guys. Like, hello, Anthony, Cool Gamer, Joe, Fumar, Sean. Like, we got so many people. Thanks for stopping in. I want to say hi. And then, good point. So, Emerald City, I was talking about SoccerCon. Emerald City and SoccerCon are actually in the same venue every year. So, whenever we're talking about that, I'm talking about it's the convention, it's the Seattle Convention Building. So, yeah, but really great place. And even when there's no conventions, like, highly recommend. They got a gorgeous garden to shoot in. Like, just go there, have fun, take some pictures in their gazebo. I think the bottom floor is just open for the public most of the time, unless there's a large event going on. So, like, go check it out. It's a beautiful place to shoot at. So thank you, Sakura. Yeah, they're from the same venue, if anybody wants to know.
Yeah, and another thing too, one thing you have to consider is, like, you have to consider lighting inside, but you also have to consider lighting outside. Arizona, we have, like, in the daytime and in, like, evening, like when the sun's rising and setting, our light's pretty good. But in the afternoon, it is very harsh. So you're going to need a diffuser or someone to, even a freaking sheet, like, just bring a sheet and be like, this is shade. You're just going to need to find shaded areas or something that's not quite as bright, because bright light will create really stark shadows.
Shade is honestly the number one thing, and it's especially true in Arizona, but it's really true just about anywhere. When you're working with daylight, the best way to do it is to put the cosplayer in the shade. Even if the sun's behind them or something, you want to try to have the cosplayer themselves in the shade.
It's way easier to bring your
so much more.
Yeah, it's easier to bring your light in than to take light out. And so I actually got really lucky. I was so excited. So it's been hot. Like, anybody who's been in the Pacific Northwest know that Washington is hot this year. Lots of sun. The one day we decided to do a photo shoot, it freaking rained. And I was so ecstatic because, like, we had to do it after work. And so it was like around 3 p.m. or something, which is a little early on my end. Like, it's in the summer, so, like, it's going to be a bright light. I'm like, that's a terrible place to shoot at a beach. But it was really cloudy, and, like, it rained a little bit in the morning, and then it rained a little bit in the evening. And so it was like this nice, perfect overcast for photo shoots. And those pictures are so pretty. I'm just so excited because like the lighting themselves are just, my photographer's like, I don't know what I'm going to do to fix these because, like, the light's so good. So
yeah, no, overcast is on it, and we don't get overcast days in Arizona very much. But if there's an overcast day, that's the day you want to contact your photographer and scramble to a location to get a shoot done that day. Because the lighting's perfect, and you can make it look like a sunny day through Photoshop and everything after the fact.
So even in professional shoots, this was pretty overcast. This is still overcast, but this is to show you how bright Arizona sunlight is. We're both wearing hats, and you can see how dark the shadow is, and how I mean, we didn't adjust this photo at all. This was just straight from my cell phone, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that is some bright light.
I mean, even with, like, professional photo shoots, if you watch any of, like, the behind the scenes of the Victoria's Secret models on the beach in the bikinis and stuff like that, they're under a tarp. Like,
Yep.
They're on the beach, yes, but they're under a tarp so that the models don't have to squint, so that the glare is softened and stuff like that. So like,
Okay.
don't
I got an
shoot in
example here too.
direct sunlight. Like, just don't do it. It's not flattering to anyone. The contrast, like, it'll just wash everyone out. It's
Again, why I recommend people like don't take photo shoots at conventions in the middle of the day. Just don't do it. Like, there's too many people, your lighting is going to be all wrong. Like, just do it in the morning before anyone shows up, or do it in the evening after dinner and then feed your photographer. It's just the way to do it.
You can see the photo there, right?
Give me 1 second.
Sam.
Yeah.
I will say, caveat to Key-chan's comment is that if you have a costume that has like body paint or parts that you don't think you're going to wear for a long time, like, come to a convention and like get your photos before you're like completely done. Because the other thing is, oh, I lost Sam. Bye, Sam. The other thing is too, when you have when you're tired and you're bedraggled and stuff like that, that tends to show like in your face, in your costume and stuff like that. So like, if you have a costume and you need to get the photos at a convention, you know, try and plan to do those photos kind of when you're fresh and ready to go.
Definitely. We actually got a really good question though. So what are your thoughts of your photographer knowing about the character you're cosplaying?
What do you think, Mission Control? Do you always need to know the character?
I don't think you always do. It does help, especially if both of you are fans of the character and you can, you know, geek out about moments that happen in the show and then try to recreate some of those moments. Mm-hmm. That really helps in a photo shoot. I don't think it's required. If you have a good enough photographer, they'll be able to hear your ideas about what poses you want to do and what scenes you want to recreate, and they'll be able to help you figure that out, even if you just have like a single reference photo from that scene or something. So it helps. It does help. I wouldn't call it necessary, but it does help.
It's always good if you have a specific character. Oh, I love that. That's one of my favorite shots that Mission Control has ever taken. That was at the Phoenix Convention Center with the windows blown out, which was something you wanted to talk about, right?
Yeah. Although on the topic that we have here, this is Morrigan from Dragon Age, which is one of my favorite characters of all time, honestly. And so Brenna here is pretty good at cosplay and pretty good at posing, but when we both know the character and we both love the character, I'm able to help kind of walk her through, okay, change your hand like this, get this sort of expression going, because I know what the character looks like and I can help her mimic that character. So it
right. And like I have to say,
it really played into it.
And if you feel like your photographer might not know the character, it doesn't mean that they're going to take bad pictures. I've met so many photographers. Me and my partner we somehow keep cosplaying from Show by Rock, which is kind of an under the radar anime. And every time we do a photo shoot with a photographer, they're like, okay, what anime is this? Like, we need more information. And then they end up watching it. And so like, I never feel bad giving people new anime suggestions. But it's just one of those, like, just how receptive is the photographer? Like, can you send them the opening and ending of the anime? Can you send them pictures and poses? Like, preparing your photographer is also part of the battle. So like, don't feel bad for just sending them information. It's kind of like getting a commission done. Like, you want to give them as much model and like work,
or download pictures of the character onto your phone or a device, carry it with you, and be like, this is what the character does frequently. Can we emulate this? So every time I go to a convention, I always, even if I know the character, I download reference photos for my photographer, not for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick on Sam for a moment here. Sam cosplays from some pretty weird stuff. So I maybe know what she's cosplaying a third of the time. If I
yes, true though.
So, and we've shot a lot of it together. And, you know, most of the time, Sam knows what she wants already. She's got her pose ideas, she's got the scene she wants to recreate, and we talk through them and we figure it out and we just go. And I look at it going, it sounds cool, I don't know who it is.
I mean,
as long as you're happy with this photo, though.
It's the same concept of like if you're going on stage and you're doing a skit or something, like not everyone's going to know your content. So preparing that skit and preparing as much as you can ahead of time to like give context is basically what you're trying to do. Like you just want to give your photographer as much context as possible, whether that's sharing beforehand, having pictures ready when you go, or knowing exactly how you're going to pose when you get to the photo shoot. Like A++. Yeah,
Or
no, because
even if you don't have reference photos, just being able to frame what type of character that is, you're going to shoot characters very differently. Like this is a great example too, because we know that this character is a warrior. We know that this character is a dynamic character, but even just being able to tell your photographer, okay, this character is a hero. This character is a melancholy type, like just giving the general vibe so that your photographer can kind of help you tell that story.
And also it helps with time a lot. Usually unless you're doing a photographer, like a photo shoot with a good friend or something, you're usually timed because you're paying for their time. And so if you spend half your time humming and hawing over pose ideas, you'll lose a lot of that time. So like just come prepared with ideas. Because when I did my horror photo shoot, I mean, I probably wasted a good 20 minutes because it'd been so long since I did a photo shoot. I was like kind of reaching in the dark. But she had my photographer, Happy Rising Costs on Instagram, amazing, fantastic photographer. I was so excited to work with them. So yeah, when we did these, like I looked up some ideas. This was actually a pose another cosplayer had done, and I loved it. And I was like, is there any way we can recreate this? And so like I just spent like a week before the photo shoot just spamming her with picture ideas. And then as we went through, we were able to just like sit and focus and get as much done. And like, we actually ended up doing most of the shoot before the hour was up. And then we're like, well, what do we do now? So we got to play around and do some fun ideas and just kind of like goof off and do poses that I didn't think I would enjoy, but I ended up really liking. So it really and truly, it's about time management and how hard you want to hit the costume. And
I always feel like there's always a time period where the photographer and the model are both kind of getting in the groove, you know? Yeah. And if you have some way of kind of helping break that ice, especially if you've never worked with the photographer before, like some way of breaking that ice, like even just like throwing up simple poses and stuff like that so you guys can get your rhythm, you know, and then kind of progressing from there. So
that's one thing is like I'm very awkward when I first start the shoot unless I know the person very well. And even then I still go through this like nervousness period because I am not a model by profession. And so I do these stupid poses first, just to get all of like the anxiety out. So like I did a shoot with Rana Froggy recently because I'd really wanted to shoot with Rana for a while. And so we did this shoot and I was like so nervous. I kept doing stupid stuff like this where like I'm like, yeah.
But it's so cute.
And I'm playing with my hair and I'm trying to get calm because I am so freaking nervous. And then eventually we end up with photos, you know, like this, where I've got like the shock, or ones where we've got, let's see here, what was the one that was like really cool that we've got, I mean, something.
Yeah, these are gorgeous.
You know, you get the nervousness out first so you can end up with the really dramatic photos later.
Honestly, Amber winds up doing the same thing too. And this is, the two of us have been married for over a decade. We've been shooting for almost a decade at this point. Like we're familiar with each other. And even still to this day, when we're trying to get into the zone for doing photos, I'm working on getting the light right and, you know, adjusting all the settings on the camera and moving the lights around from one spot to the next and taking test photos. And Amber makes goofy faces for every single test photo.
I mean, look at this.
Yeah, that was one of those. He was like, "Hold on, I need to adjust my settings," and I'm like, "I'm gonna fall off the stool." Like, there's so many just like photos that we have, and most of them like stay on Patreon or in his trash. Where like that was, we were shooting in a hotel and we had our dogs with us, and of course Kobe, being a Velcro dog, was like, "I'm gonna hop up and hang out." So.
And actually, that's that made me think of another really good tip. I would have to say one of the most important things is bringing a buddy with you who knows the costume. It's really like the photographer is very tunnel vision. Like they're focused on light, they're focused on angle, they're focused on aperture. Like they're doing their job. So they're not going to catch if your costume, like maybe your collar is flipped down, or maybe your necklace is a little askew. Like these are little details that you can't really see because they're kind of weird on your body, but your photographer's not looking for. So having a buddy there who can kind of fix your scarf or make sure your jewelry's straight or make sure that weird spot in your hair is actually like your wig's fixed is really helpful, because I know half the time when a photo comes back, it's a thing where I'm like, oh, my wig isn't a weird, like I have a weird thing hanging off my wig, or it's my necklace isn't showing in the picture. Just these little nitpicky details that I find obnoxious, but it was totally my fault because I didn't catch it. And so I usually bring my best friend with me because she is phenomenal at details. So she will sit there and like fix my collar or make sure my wig's just right before we take the picture. And that helps so much.
Yeah. And honestly, if there was one bit of advice I would give today, would be exactly that. Anytime you're shooting with a photographer, no matter how familiar with them you are, whether they're a stranger, whether they're a 10-year-long friend, bring a buddy. Because, I mean, not only is it safe, particularly when you're working with someone new, you want someone there who can kind of have your back, but also to hype you up, to keep you going, to talk you through things, to fix your hair if you get that random stray hair. You just need someone there watching out for your costume and making sure that everything is perfect. Because, yeah, as the photographer, I do not have time to look at your costume and make sure that it's perfect. I try my best, but I'm going to miss something because I'm focused on all the technical stuff going on.
I mean, we just did this photo shoot with Mary Jane and the wet t-shirt. And at one point I did one of these things and pulled my hair up. And then when I put my head down, I had just like a single thing just sticking up awkwardly. And
for half the photos after that.
Yeah, he had to go through and Photoshop the freaking hair because we didn't have a third person going, oh, hey, Amber, you got this weird little cowlet going on. I had contacts in, I couldn't see. He was focused on lighting and posing and all of those other things. So like, having a third person and especially like, if you have a cape or something that they can like flip or throw up or whatnot, like, having that extra set of hands can make the difference.
Another good example of a helper, Sam, if you want to put up Amber's latest photo of Loki.
Yes. I need to see this.
Sorry, I'm having to scroll up. There we go.
There's video of this somewhere. I need Meta to give us the video of this. So all right, Matthew, I'll let you go through the backstory of this.
So we're working at a pool, and we bought this little inflatable thing for her to lay on and do different poses in. And we got a lot of really good shots of her just lounging around in the pool in this thing. But you can't control it. It's going to drift all over the pool, no matter what you do. So we had one of our very good friends on hand with a freaking pool skimmer to reach out and save Amber anytime she started drifting too far away.
Like fish me back to where he was shooting.
And she would just get a ride around the pool like this.
I'd be like, I'm too far. Because like that particular photo that we were trying to get really wanted a top-down angle, really wanted that kind of that view down. And so if I drifted too far, that became not flattering because you'd get like not flattering angles. So having
that
Jane
shoot
there,
would have been impossible if we didn't have friends there helping out.
Yeah, you would have had to like keep chasing me around the pool, like because I was useless in that tube. Like I was just like,
and if you're shooting outside of a convention, think about what the things around you are going to be like a pool, or like I did some ocean pictures, and I'm so happy I was prepared because that was way colder than I expected it to be. Like I had my best friend sitting there with the towel open and ready. So as soon as I was like, I took that picture and I was up and out of the water because it was so cold. And then same with like my D-Lit pictures. So when I did D-Lit, it was way back in February. And so in Washington, February is like 40 degrees. If we're lucky. And so she's not a whole lot of clothing. And I decided I was just going to do the shoot. Like, screw it. I'll just bring my jacket with me. It'll be fine. Because we were up in Whatcom Falls in Bellingham, which is a gorgeous place to do photo shoots. But my poor photographer had to do a lot of skin editing because I was completely pink by the end of this photo shoot because my skin, like I was so cold that all the blood had like pooled at the top of my skin to try to keep me warm. And I didn't notice it. Like once I got into the zone and I was like focused, I wasn't noticing how cold I was. But once I got into the warm car, I just started shivering like so hard. So like keep in mind weather conditions, pools, oceans, water. Like I have multiple photographers who've lost SD cards or lights to water sources. Like keep those in mind.
Yeah, I've got, so I'm going to share this one, but we've got we were doing the cosplay, a group of us were at a convention.
So cute.
And it was in January in Arizona, which it can get really cool for us. It gets really cool. And we were next
all
to this.
The way to 30.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was cold.
Yeah. It gets cold. And so we were by this fountain, and it was just throwing off this mist that was making us so much colder. And I was like, I'm wearing layers and I'm dying. Please get me away from this. But the photos were so good. So our photographer, so you can see him, like one of them. So we had someone go up here. We had two different people rotating, and we were just trying to stay warm. And every time we did solos, we would immediately group back together because we're like, we're so cold. Like, go back, where to go? We're so cold, please. We must get warmth back together. But it was really cool at this location because there was this balcony up above, so we could get all these really fun above shots, right? And it just kind of reminded me even more of Pokemon because
it's so whimsical. I love that place. It's so cute.
Yeah. And so it was really fun. And I mean, this is where we were making it because we were all really cold. So we were and then Glacion's like, I don't care.
And my dumbass was like, I don't like how the top looks underneath my armor. So I just went with just my breastplate. And
you can see your skin right there.
Freaking, I was like, that was the worst decision. I was so freaking cold. Like,
all right, we have some comments. We have such great photos from Carly, and then Robert's having only worked with 3 different photographers, it's really nice to make that when they make you feel comfortable and have fun. Very true.
And I think there's just a safety tip too. If you're not comfortable, like at any point, you can stop a photo shoot. Like this is. Especially for women, especially for younger women, like I know society teaches us that if you commit, you need to see it through or whatever, but like you can stop it at any time. And one of the things, like even if you don't want to stop the photo shoot completely, so say like we've done, Matthew and I have done boudoir with a couple other people. And one of the things that does help is discussing limitations and expectations and stuff ahead of time to just be like, this is what we're looking for. What are your hard limits? Like, what are things that you're comfortable with? Blah, blah, blah. And it's, funny story. There were actually like 6 other people in the suite at the same time as this photo.
It's amazing.
I was fine, but like, you know, if you're a person that is not as comfortable, you know, having other people around, maybe you go, hey, can we, you know, can it just be my photographer and my buddy right now? And one of the things you can do too, is if you're doing like boudoir or something like that, and you don't know where your limits are, like you don't know if something's going to make you uncomfortable, you can set up like a skip word or a safe word with your photographer. I was talking to Bald Pirate Photography about this, where like if you're not comfortable saying, oh, I don't really want to do that, you can just pick a word like turquoise. And he goes, you know, if the photographer goes, okay, you know, why don't you turn your butt more towards the camera? And you go, oh God, no, I don't want to. You can just say turquoise. And then the photographer can skip on and just kind of seamlessly go. Because if you're not comfortable, the photos aren't going to be good.
Yeah. And also, like, after the shoot, if you get the pictures back and you're not comfortable, you tell your photographer that. Go, hey, I had a lot of fun. This was a great shoot, but I don't want to share my pictures online. And, like, well, we have Mission nodding eagerly. Yeah, like, a photographer, a good photographer will be like, okay, I won't share them. You don't have to share them. They're your property.
I have done so many photo shoots that not a single photo has ever been posted of. Some of them are cosplay, some of them are just straight up modeling, some of them were taken at a convention center, some of them were taken in a studio, and it doesn't matter what the circumstances were. There have been times where I've been asked, I just want these for me, I don't want them to be out there.
And even if it's like after the fact, like if they're about to post something or they post something and you decide you don't want it, just reach out and be like, I'm hard limit, I'm done, I don't want these out there, and like the photographer will take care of it.
And that's very important, you know, like you deserve to have that right to be able to decide where your photos are shown. And sometimes you want to do these shoots just for yourself. The photo shoot Amber was just talking about, where we had, 6 different models there. Half of the people who were there were taking it just for themselves and had no intention of sharing it. One of them wasn't even going to share it with her boyfriend. Like, they were literally just for her. So that she could have and she could admire 30 years from now and go, look at that. Look at how good I looked. Yeah. And that was it. That's all she wanted.
Yeah.
And that's a perfectly valid reason of doing a photo shoot too. I always tell people, like when I get, both men and women who go, oh, I really want to do boudoir, but I'm not sure how I would feel about it. I remember back to my first boudoir shoot with Bald Pirate. And I remember that moment of looking at that camera going, oh my God, I'm sexy. Like, what's going on?
It can be a really empowering feeling.
Yeah. And especially photographers who work with, and this is kind of like one of those things that I want to put as a green flag. Like we can talk about like red flags with photographers, but like a green flag is going to be a photographer who works with all different body sizes and body shapes. And Bald Pirate photography is one of my favorites, because if you look at his stuff, he works with like all sorts, and knows how to shoot the angles that are flattering, and enjoys finding the intimate, beautiful moments. But like if you do a shoot and you go, oh God, I didn't like, that's not empowering. Like this costume I kind of wore because we did a shoot out in a lake in Arizona, and I didn't like any of the photos because we did it in direct sunlight, so all the photos were super like red. I was very squinty, like none of them were very flattering. And so like I think we maybe put out one of the photos from that photo shoot, but like
there was one photo that we had that was with another person, and that was it. That was the only photo that looked decent from that. And it was just one of those awkward situations where, we went to a public lake, and all of the, places we wanted to shoot, there was already some truck parked there with, a family there. And so we went to the only open place we could find, and it meant we were facing the sun, and everything went wrong with that shoot.
Yeah. So we've talked about like a lot about photos and stuff. So I want to leave some room for like self-photography, or using your camera, or like your cell phone camera versus a professional camera. And then we have Jara was asking about like red flags for photographers. So we'll cover that first, and then we can talk about using your cell phone and how you can get really good photos with that too. You just have to plan a bit more. But yeah, so red flags of photographers, for like the biggest red flag for me is that the photographer does not want you to bring anybody with you.
That's the biggest one for me.
Yeah.
Because you should always be able to have a partner or companion there just for security reasons.
I would say a good photographer would prefer that you bring someone, where a bad one is going to try to talk you out of it.
Yes.
And I will caveat that sometimes they ask you to bring a hype person instead of a significant other. I know Bald Pirate and I have talked a lot about how he generally doesn't like to shoot with a significant other there, because there's a degree of awkwardness where suddenly you're performing for your significant other instead of for the camera. So a lot of times he prefers you to bring a hype person who's going to be like, yes, look at your butt. You look so good. That looks so great. Someone who's invested in you looking good in the photos. But he would never, ever tell somebody that they had to come alone. That, for me, that's
a huge red flag.
Yeah, my other red flag is if a photographer is pushing you to do a costume that you don't want to do a photo shoot in. I do a lot of masculine characters, and so back in the beginning of my time as a cosplayer, and I didn't know a whole lot, and I didn't know who was safe and stuff. I did have a lot of cosplayers reach out to me, and they're like, "Oh, well, we want to shoot this cosplayer, we want to shoot this cosplay," and I had one in particular who was like, "Oh, what? Let's do like holo." And like, I'm okay with shooting holo. She's one of my favorites. I have the most pictures of her. But it was very in like kind of a sexual, like, oh, well, I want to shoot holo because it's a girl. But I'd already done so many photo shoots. I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to shoot holo right now. Like the 3 costumes that I need to get photos of are these 3. And so the next shoot I'm going to do is one of these. And they seemed very apprehensive, like, oh, well, I don't want to shoot as one of those. Or like, I don't know the character. Like they made a bunch of excuses and they were trying to like kind of strong arm me into, oh, well, I'll give you a free shoot if we do this. And I'm like, that's not okay. And even at that age, I was like, nah, I'm good. Thank you, though.
I would go as far as to say it's at least a yellow flag. Maybe not a full red flag, but at least a yellow flag if a photographer tries to push you to do anything after you've already said no.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing for a photographer to ask a question and go, oh, do you want to do this? And then you say no. Like, that's fine. That's a normal conversation.
Yeah.
But if the photographer starts going, well, let's think about it. Let's talk about it. And starts trying to push you to do it anyway, that's a problem. That's someone that you should probably walk away from.
Exactly. And like, it's okay. Like, I don't know. I have a lot of photo shoots that were just kind of like in the moment where a photographer's like, hey, let's just shoot this, what you got right now. Or like, hey, do you want to do this shoot? I need to get this in my portfolio. And so like, I wasn't going to do any more holo, but one of my good friends in high school actually reached out to me and was like, hey, I need to do my portfolio and I want to do a cosplay shoot. Can we do holo? And I was like, yeah, that's great. Like, I don't mind doing another shoot in holo, especially for a friend of mine. If it helps your portfolio, I'm onto it. Like, that was a healthy way to look at it versus like really doing that was the photo shoot. And it was her first cosplay photo shoot. And I died. Like, every single picture that came out of that whole shoot was phenomenal because she'd only ever done clothes modeling. And so she's like, well, I really want to branch out my portfolio. And this was fun. And so she was really like, she didn't want to ask me, but she loves Spice and Wolf. So she's like, I would love to shoot holo because I know the anime. But oh God, it was such a great shoot. Like, that was such a great opportunity. And so like, don't say no to everything, but like, if it feels like a yellow flag, then.
Yeah. So we've got like, them trying to force you into things, them not letting you bring somebody with you. Also, if a photographer insists on a location that is like just not safe, like just because the angles are really cool. Like, I've had photographers be like, can you climb up on that wall? And I'm like, there's no stairs. I'm clumsy. I'm going to fall off this wall. You can kiss my butt. Like, or I'll just land on your face and break your head because I fell. like no. So if they're going to put you in a dangerous situation or endanger your life or your physical well-being simply because of an angle, that to me is also a yellow or red flag because they're not thinking about you as a human being. They're thinking about you as an object.
I would say another yellow bordering on red, so let's call it an orange flag for me, is if I go to a photographer's photo page and it's all, and I'm going to throw myself under the bus here, skinny white girls. If it's all skinny white girls and no other diversity, I go, kind of seems like you're after it.
Yeah. I want to see men, women.
Thing.
I want to see people of color. I want to see people across the gender spectrum, across the
and I want to see like dynamic
cultural spectrum.
Especially in cosplay, if somebody only shoots like pinup style stuff, that works, that looks good, but like it one of the fun things about cosplay is the fact that you can shoot dynamic and emotive stuff. And if I see a photography page that's all just like like I find that an orange flag, even if you're not being a perv with a camera, you're not an inspired poser. So like, I might not look at shooting with that person. Mm-hmm. So like diversity of poses and diversity of people that they're shooting with. And a diversity of people, especially,
because that's a huge thing in the photography realm right now, is photographers who only shoot with a certain type of person and snub everyone else. And that happens a lot.
Yeah.
That sucks.
We have a photographer here in the Arizona community that only shoots with younger white girls. And I'm always just like, like, I see you. I see what you're doing. It's not good. Like,
Yeah, so
it's
those
not.
are some red flags, yellow flags that you want to pay attention to.
Mhm.
There are other things that could pop up depending on your sense of safety and security as well. So just be very alert and attentive to like what the individual is saying, and always bring someone with you, and also make sure you have some kind of contract or piece of paper saying this is what I'm paying at this time that you're signing. Just some kind of documentation
That's super
of the
important.
interaction. Yeah.
I've been screwed over in photo shoots before. I'm not going to say any names, but I did a photo shoot with a group. I had a couple friends. We did a photo shoot. I really liked the photographer. The pictures seemed pretty great. They weren't edited yet, but I loved the angles. It ended up being really fun. This photographer had a couple of slots open the next morning, so I was like, "Hey, can I squeeze this costume in? I've been wanting to get a shoot done." I didn't see those pictures edited for over a year after a $60 hour shoot. We actually ended up leaving the shoot early, so it was only like a 40-minute shoot just because we were both busy and we got all the shots we wanted, which is fine. I don't mind paying extra for that kind of stuff, especially if it's a busy con setting. But like, I didn't see those pictures, and when I did get them, none of them were edited. I had to edit them all myself, and it was just very unprofessional because they never had a moment of, oh, well, I'll give you your money back kind of thing. So that was a very huge disappointment. And then it turns out when I did get the photos back from the group, they basically filtered a lot of the pictures, and it felt like very minimal like editing. And so it was my bad for jumping in and assuming they were a good photographer just because I was with a couple of friends. Like, I should have looked at their page. I should have saw the filtering. I should have saw that obviously they do this as a hobby, and I shouldn't be paying $60 for a photo shoot. If it was $20 playing around with friends, I wouldn't have mattered. But like, I was paying her the prices that I would pay my normal $60 an hour photographer. And so
there's classes of photographers, and I feel like there are certain photographers that are worth paying a lot of money for because you're getting their experience and stuff like that. Like, here locally, we have Tony Julius, who is a professional photographer, does weddings and stuff like that. He charges, he's worth it.
Well, I feel like based off of the price tier, like if someone's charging you $20 an hour, they're probably a hobbyist or an amateur trying to get in the game. If they're charging you $50 an hour, they're probably still a hobbyist and or intermediate person with some experience. If it's $100 or more, that's professional level, and they need to deliver something really good.
Yeah, definitely.
And don't be bullied into, because I've had this happen. And again, I'm not going to name names either, but like, I've had it where I shot with somebody, and then later that photographer came back and went like, okay, it's $20 per photo. And I was like, no, like, I'm just not going to shoot with you ever again. Like, that's the long and short of it.
Yeah, like if they say they're going to deliver 8 photos and they deliver 8 and you want more, then I understand them charging for additional photos.
Oh, yeah.
But if they don't deliver the 8 and they want you to pay for the photos even after you've spent $150, this is why I get documentation of everything, and I'm like, this is what we agreed to. It's right here. If you want to fight me on this, I'm one of those people that's willing to fight.
Find out from your photographer how long you can expect to shoot, how many images you can expect back, what the price is, if anything, whether they will be raws or edited. And then if you want to do editing yourself, make sure you ask your photographer ahead of time if it's okay that you will be editing the shots.
Yeah.
Because and I'm sure Matthew can say this, from the photography standpoint, like when a photo comes out and you say this is by @Mission Control Photos, like that's that photographer's branding. And some photographers don't want you to mess with that branding. They want their pictures to look a certain way. Other photographers, like Matthew, if you say, hey, can I have the raws so I can mess around with it? He's going to be like, sure, have fun. But if you think or you want to do editing or retouching, make sure you clear that with your photographer ahead of time.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked a lot about like professional photography. So what about self-photography? So there's lots of stuff that you can do with selfie. And like at our recent, for instance, when we went to the Selfie Museum, the Pixie Pros, there were a couple moments where I was like, I'm just going to mess around and take some photos of myself. So these are all photos that I took of myself.
Oh, wow.
And like, I just was like, my arms are long, so that was useful. This is all me being a goofball and just figuring out the right angle. And now you can see, like, look, it's me and Jess. But I've done a lot of self photography. My trick here is I usually have a selfie ring or some kind of light diffuser. I always have a tripod with me, and I have long arms, or I have a space where I can put stuff up. So I've got, I mean, let me see if I can find another thing. I've done like, I mean, when I say I've done a lot of self photography, it's not even kidding. I did, let's see.
I think selfie sticks are a great idea, especially if you are
definitely.
at if you have a full costume that you want to take a picture of. Like, just be mindful when you're,
like this
whipping
photo
it
is
out.
literally me holding my hand and getting the right angle, the right light, and boom.
Yeah. And that's, you can get really good at that. And for me, because I suck at these, one of the things that really helped me out was learning the hand controls of my phone. Because like this means I want a picture. This means to turn on my video. Like I've learned how to do the hand control on my phone, so I can set my phone up on a stand far away from me and just control it by using my hand controls. You can also buy a controller for your phone, so a plug-in that gives you the opportunity to just like you can be away from your camera and then you can hit. Just know that you have a controller in your hand, but like you can always easily hide a controller to take good selfie shots. That's the only. I'm short with short arms, so that's my trick to getting around the selfie game is just learning the motion controls on your phone or getting a controller.
Yeah.
For this, I just bought a white sheet backdrop and I blurred it out a bit because it was still a little wrinkly. Oops, I hadn't steamed it all the way. Anyways, and then I literally just had one of those cheap tripods and I bought a cheap light that plugs in with a diffuser, and that's it. Like I just told Google to take a photo for me, and it did.
It's like $20.
This stuff is cheap, and that's kind of the beauty of living in the influencer age that we live in now, is that you can get all the stuff for this a lot cheaper than you used to be able to. There are lights you can buy online for $20 that you plug in and go. And Sam's using one right now. Amber's got one. I've got one next to me. It's not set up very well because I don't do this as often as they do, but they're cheap. I tell people all the time, if you want to get into doing your own high quality studio photos, you can get started for less than $100. It
Easily.
Literally just takes a cell phone, a couple of lights, and a backdrop.
It really does.
Yeah, me and my best friend Kiori Moto, we've pretty much set up our own like TikTok studios in our house for filming. Hers is so much cooler than mine. She's got this like really amazing like ice background for her Elsa shoots, and she has this really pretty fabric. And like all she did was set up a couple of pieces of fabric up, set up her lighting gear. Like it was so cheap because we're both broke. Like. She's a college kid, so it's just like we're both broke. We can't afford anything. So she just bought like a Walmart ring light, one of those standing ring lights that actually has a phone holder on it as well. We threw up our sheet, which was bought at the thrift store, and like under $20, we had an entire studio, and those TikToks look awesome.
Yeah, bed sheets from the thrift store. That half of the backdrops that Amber and I use are bed sheets from the thrift store to this day.
If you find like curtains and stuff like that, a lot of times curtains have nice, interesting textures and stuff. You can use those for backdrops. Just big old sheets, like, you can get started with interesting backdrops, and then you can buy a backdrop. Like we have a graffiti wall. I love that backdrop so much because every time we do a shoot with it, people are like, where is this? Where is this located? We're like, in our living room. And that backdrop was like $10-15. But
in some of my TikToks, I have like a black background with like a starry sky. Literally $20 fairy lights at Michael's with like a black sheet in the corner of my room. Yeah. Like I literally just set up like a little fairy corner with lights, and I could just flip them on, take some pictures, call it good. Like the both the worst best thing about TikTok is like how creative people have gotten, and like you can really see where people just take really cheap ideas, quick backgrounds like graffiti, and really use it to their advantage, and you never know.
Yep. So we're getting into like the last 2 minutes. If you guys have any questions, please post them and let us know. But in summary, when you're getting a professional shoot, make sure you have your location in mind. You've downloaded some photos for your poses because your photographer may not know about your character, and that you have a companion. So one, you've got security, and two, they can fix up anything on your costume that might be goofed. Also, if you can't afford a photographer, just get yourself a really cheap, like $10, $20 tripod with a little ring light attached to it. Could be the cheapest one out there. And you take it out into the world with you and you find some fun little angles and you just start testing and have fun. Really, you don't even necessarily have to start with a ring light either. If you just have a little tripod or even a rock that you prop stuff up on and you just find really good times of day, the best, like the golden hours of light are really near sunrise and sunset, unless you're in an area that has more cloud cover, then you might be okay. But you're just going to look more for diffused light and some shade, somewhere where you don't have direct light casting a really high exposure on your face and too stark of shadows. So like my ring lights right now are high a little bit because I just couldn't get my light balance today. And I was like, whatever. So you can tell that my light's a little bit higher than it should be. But that just gives you an example of like, I'm inside. Now imagine being outside and I have my window open. This thing is like, I even have screens and it's still just like, hello. So just be careful with your lighting. Lighting is probably the most important thing for photography. Once you get your lighting set, from there, just figure out what angle works best for you.
And this will be different for every person. Every person will have a different
angle. Some people
angle.
it's a little bit higher, like I'm really tall, so I prefer going a little bit higher. Other people, it's from a little bit lower to give them more of the height. Some people, when you're posing, you usually don't want to go straight on. You want to have some kind of turn angle. You want to stick your butt out, suck your gut in, and just make it feel like you're trying to pull yourself up on your spine. And this will just give you like a strength and a power. And it will also make sure that your posture is correct. So
the number one thing I can tell for people for posing is imagine that there is a rubber band that you have attached to your shoulders and your butt, and it's pulling those together. And that's just what you want. I don't care what your gender orientation is. It's that rubber band will help lift and give you a more dynamic, more heroic pose.
Yeah, and when you do that too, it makes you pull your shoulders back because so many of us have gotten used to rolling our shoulders forward. When you do that, you're actually pulling it back. Yeah.
And my thing is like keeping my chin up. I have this one photographer who trained me on this at least, but we'll be shooting. She's always like, chin up. So now it's just every time I pose, I think of her yelling chin up. But like
I'm the opposite. I keep my chin down because I've got a bigger nose. Oh. So it's not flattering for me to look like this. So I keep my chin down.
Yeah. See, everybody has a different pose that looks really good for them. I have like a very round, neutral face. So if I put my face up a little bit, it kind of gives me a bit more jaw. So like,
and I like to go down so you can see how I could cut people with my cheekbone.
and that's the thing, like have fun with it. Like you'll never ever, like, unless you just get started and go with it, you'll never get better. Like recently I actually on some of my more personal social medias, I took a picture with Happy Rising that was taken years ago, one of our first photo shoots together, before they were even a photographer, before they even thought about anything. They were still in school. And then the last photo shoot we did a week ago, and like putting those pictures side by side was so surreal for both of us, because me as a baby cosplayer, it was Sunday at a con, my costume was barely completed. It was ironically still Haru though. It was just like the Iwatobi Haru. And then my new photo shoot was the Arabian Haru from Splash Free. And I was like, it's so beautiful just like seeing the progression. So like you got to start somewhere. My advice for tonight for today is just do it. Just try it. Just play with your camera. Just have fun with it. Take 1,000,000 pictures, because if you take 100, 10 of them will be good.
Yeah. And it really is that. The more photo shoots you do, the better at it you get. You're going to start out pretty awful. I mean, we showed off one of my more awful photos at the beginning of this, and now my photos don't look anything like that.
Nope.
And that's just 10 years of practice doing photo shoots every month.
Yep.
So that's the thing with all cosplay. Like unless you do it, you're never going to get better. So don't be scared to start the prop. Don't be scared to try playing with a wig. Don't be scared to take pictures. Don't be scared to practice posing. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your house all alone, standing in front of a mirror, making funny faces. Like, just do it.
Yeah, it kind of makes me mad sometimes because Matthew and I are so efficient now that like we can complete a full photo shoot, get like 40 good images in like 20, 30 minutes because we can just go. So I'll spend like an hour and a half getting ready. And then like 30 minutes later, we're done with the photo shoot. And I'm looking at him and he's looking at me. He's like, we don't really need more. And I'm like, oh, I spent so long getting into this. Makes me so mad.
But I was gonna show a couple photos just of like what were taken with like just a cell phone to show people that you don't have to have. I mean, this is literally my cell phone. This is my cell phone. And then where's the other one? And this is also my cell phone.
Yeah.
So you can get really good photos with cell phones, people. You just gotta make sure you have your
good lighting. You can make a fantastic photo with a flip phone. All it is it's lighting. Lighting is the biggest thing.
Yep.
So remember, always put your face towards the light sources, and remember that rubber band. Get your nice little arch. So, yeah, I think that's the two biggest things for people who are posing at conventions and not standing in the alleyway, because that annoys me.
So one thing, before we tell you where you can reach all of us, because we've gone a little bit over, when working with photographers, if you're working with someone, please pay them. And if they want to do it for free, understand that you need to give them as much time as they need to edit and do things, because you didn't pay them for their time. I prefer to pay photographers just because they're running a service for me. They're doing something for me that I myself may not be able to do at that moment in time, or they just have like the skill set I needed. That's why we say if you can't pay a photographer, we prefer you try doing it yourself or work with friends. Like if you're in a convention setting and you all want to take photos of each other, that's fine. But if you do set aside time for a photographer and you're taking an hour of their day from an event or from their life, and unless it's for like a trade for photos, like you're trading your time for their time, as in they needed a cosplay model or they needed a model in general for their portfolio, and you want to please compensate them for the job they're doing.
Because even once you walk away, they're not done. Like Mission Control,
they have to edit and
you spend on photos afterwards.
Yeah, so it's probably an hour as a photo shoot, right? And then anywhere from 10 to 20 hours, I would think, of editing.
Yeah, so the Starfire shoot that we did recently, I spent about 70 hours editing on that shoot.
Oh, wow.
Granted, we're editing body paint in the water, and there was 70 some odd photos to that shoot. It was a massive shoot, but it took 2 full work weeks for me to get through.
Yeah, seriously, like I'm such an advocate. Like I have a couple of if you're from the Seattle area, you guys might know Larry Hill, fantastic. I love him. He just plays around with his camera. He never asks for money, but he always ends up giving these amazing pictures. I have a fantastic shoot that he just did. I gave him freaking money because I'm like, go buy lunch. I don't have time to take you to food, so go buy lunch. I'm not letting you walk away from me.
And some people, it's just stress relief. Like with me, I love taking photos and videos at conventions, and so I'm always going to send people stuff, but it's more of like, it makes me happy. It generates memories for me, and it calms me down when I'm nervous. So.
But I no matter what or what situation I'm in, after the photo shoot, I will always offer my photographer food. Like that is one of my key things. I just like, have you eaten? Would you like to eat? I will pay you for food.
I like get food a lot, but I don't even want to eat. I just always want water and coffee. So
well, that I will pay in that too. I just like, no matter what, even if I've spent like, I know with Kanani, we have yet to go to dinner because of our schedules, but like every time we shoot, I'm like, dinner? Are we doing dinner finally? And so just like, it's just be kind to your photographers. Love them very much because they work so hard.
Yep. So we'll go ahead and cut out here. If you have, just to let everybody know, next week we are on break. We are not going to have a stream. A lot of us have things going on, and so we won't be available to stream next weekend, but we will pick right up the weekend right after that. My name is Sam from Thermo Cosplay, and if you just go to thermocosplay.com, you can reach me there. It's the easiest place to get me. Also, I'm going to have another announcement after this, but let's have everybody else and like kind of say where we can reach you.
So I'm Tiny Rain Cloud. Now it's _Tiny Rain Cloud _, and this is going to be on Twitch, Original Glaze, my TikTok, and Discord. And then I'm still Keychan Cosplay on Instagram. So just Keychan _cosplay. I'm doing a little kind of manipulation and moving things around in my cosplay stuff. So don't mind me.
Is always fun.
You can come find me at this. It was great trying to find a username that wasn't taken on all the platforms. Like I had to go through and like cross platforms and try to figure out which one I could use. So, but anybody who has Original Glaze, I'm finally officially on there. So please come find me. I love that app already so much. It's so fun. If you aren't on there, go to originalglaze.com. Check them out because it's so cool. It's an Instagram app that's only for cosplayers, and it's 100% worth your time. You can also check them out on Discord. So yeah, that's me.
And I'm Amber Bright Props, and Amber Bright Props everywhere because branding is good. So
I'm trying so hard. Like, it's so hard to get a username that works on everything.
I also started like 8 years ago, so you know I've had a little bit of a head start. But
I got a wild hair.
BRITE, like my thingy says, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Discord. I think I'm on Original Glaze. I need to like.
You are. You're there.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm on Original Glaze. This is new to me.
I follow everybody on CosTalk Live. So.
Okay. And then other.
I'm probably a bit harder to find because I don't really post a whole lot of stuff to my social media, but mission control photos. Sometimes it's mission.control.photos would be how it's spelled on Instagram. I have no posts on Instagram, which I should probably fix, but you can message me there and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
He's one of those stealth photographers where I'm like, go check a photographer's page and make sure they're not sus. And he's got like nothing on his page.
But he has photos like everywhere. He's got event photos everywhere. Like people are like, "Oh, this is Mission Control. This is Mission Control." You're like, "Where's your page?"
Yeah.
So
I don't exist on the internet sometimes. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I would also say I'm so sorry, chat. Like Jinx isn't here, and so we ignore chat. I'm so sorry. I tried my best to remember chat's there and like shout out. But we love you. Thank you for coming by. I'm so sorry. Jinx is the best one to do chat.
So the thing we wanted to talk about is it is August. Oh my gosh. So we've got 2 events going on in August. We have the cosplay night at the Pixie Pros Tempe Museum, and I will be there. So if you need help taking selfies, hey, what's up? My name's Sam. I'll be there. And then we also have another Pixie Pros event the following weekend on the 22nd at Arrowhead. And be sure to buy your tickets. They are limited. It is an hour-long dedicated just to cosplay, so it should be full of cosplayers, and it'll be lots of fun. Now, in September, the Labor Day itself, which is Saboting Con. Labor Day on September 6th. It hasn't posted yet, but on the event calendar in the Pixie Pros, you will soon see a Saboting Con after party. It's only going to be limited to 30 tickets. We are going to have food trucks and a DJ, and it's basically come party with us at Pixie Pros Tempe. It will be $35 a ticket, and it will just... It's literally going to be I miss the con already party. Best sort
of parties.
Yes.
You're like, oh, it's over.
Yeah, and so a lot of the CosTalk Live crew will be there. I know Jess and I, so Jinx Cosplay, myself plan on being there, and we'll see whom else will be able to join. Sadly, we won't be able to have Tiny Rain Cloud with us because Tiny Rain Cloud's not in our state. But
it's okay. I'm up in Seattle. I have Ren here.
City happens. We are going to do some party stuff with Tiny Rain Cloud.
I don't know actually. I'm gonna say out there right now. I don't know who is in the Washington area. Our COVID situation is different than the rest of the world. We're in a very bad location because of transport, Amazon, etc. So even if there are conventions going on, please respect my boundaries. I probably will not be going to too many of them. We'll see how things are in the next couple of months. I am not opposed. I'm fully vaccinated to doing outside conventions. We now have some outside events coming out. Ren Fair is happening this month. So the second weekend, and I will be going to Midsummer Ren Fair. I will be masked up. I'm going to ask no hugs, please. But you can totally come over and say hi. I'm totally up for that. It's just as of right now, I want to be as safe as possible because I still don't really. I know I need to go to a convention to save my soul, but I'm also like I need to be as safe as possible. So I will be at Ren Fair.
Yeah. So if you do see any of us from CosTalk Live at events coming up here in the future, please be sure to ask before approaching.
Please.
So, but thank you.
You can always come say hi. Just no.
Yeah. Thank you all again for today. We hope you had plenty of information about cosplay photography and tips and things that you can do. And if you have questions, you can always message us either at costech-live.com or CosTalk Live on Instagram, Facebook. That's typically where we're the most at, but we do go other places.
Or join the Discord.
Or
Join our Discord.
Discord.
Yeah. Come join us.
Join the Discord.
All right, guys, you have a good Sunday, and thank you for joining us today.
Bye.